Well, thank you everybody for showing up. I'm really touched by seeing so many people here on this amazing spot. I mean, 2 weeks ago I visited this location for the first time, and it immediately made me think when I was a boy of about 12 years old, and I was always looking at Star Trek, and suddenly I had the idea, wow, I'm feeling like I'm finally in Star Trek. I hope you will be impressed by the later 3D models as much as I was. I really think it's an amazing technology. It's a very beautiful way of visualizing what is happening with our Earth. And visualization and the power of the image is something I would like to discuss with you, in particular in explaining how complex systems sometimes work. So, if we talk about the question, why is visualization so important? I would like to start with demonstrating a very small, simple simulation model. And it's about evacuation behavior. Suppose you're developing a building like this, and then you can have the question, what if there is a fire? Is this building safe? Is it easy to evacuate? Do the emergency exits, are they wide enough? Well, to test that, natural scientists started working on models like this. Here you see all agents, and they try to escape from this door. Very nice, you see some arch type of structures, which makes it pretty difficult to escape. So after a while, finally they all escaped. Isn't this touching? Yeah. So, now let's have a look at what is really happening. This is not nice. I think this is enough. I also think that you get an idea how important a good idea of reality is. I mean, the emotional impact of the last movie is a little bit different than the first one of the simulation, right? That's quite a difference. It also makes you more aware of how important a good exit is in these situations. If you have a simulation like that, and there's more emotional content in it, it's also more effective in communicating what is actually happening in this situation. So let's go back to another visualization. Here's one, and you will recognize basically the previous one, only this is a 3-story building. I hope you can see it. Ooh, this is rather vague. Here's the exit. And here we have the 3 floors. So they're all moving. Can you see it? It's almost like an ant nest. And they're escaping here right now. So this is basically the same physical model that we saw before. Now I would like to confront you with a model that is a little bit more advanced. And I would like you to have a very close look at what is happening here. Basically, this is the same physical layout as the previous model. A 3-story building in an evacuation situation. Now this is cool, right? It feels really different than the previous one, right? You almost have the idea of that you are there and you see the different people, and perhaps you even feel a kind of emotion very weak emotional attachment with them. But look, over here. These are smart guys. I mean, suppose the building is on fire. Is that logical behavior? No, actually what you see here is a very simple simulation model, and the rules are very simple, but because the agents look quite realistic, right, they reflect real humans, we immediately have a kind of expectation about their motives and their drives to behave. And that may be very false indeed. The model behind it is really very simple. Now this is typically where social science comes in, and I've been working for quite a while with Nanda Weiermans. And Nanda Weiermans has been working on the development of a simulation model of crowd behavior in a festival setting. And this model is really ugly if you look at it. So I will show it. It's the same simple dots you can see. I will stop it for a while. And what is more interesting here is that, well, first you have here a stage, here is the beer, and here are the toilets. So that's an interesting situation. More interesting is that the agents have different colors, and the colors indicate in this situation their main motive. In this case, if they're yellow, they want to go to the festival. They want to to have a look at a band. If they are red, for example, they're not so interested in anything that's going on. They just want to be close to friends. If they are brown, they want to go to the toilet or they want to have a beer. If they're here a bit pinkish, then they think there are too many people around me. I want to have a little bit more space. And what's very interesting, if you look at this area over here, here are the toilets, that sometimes agents go to the toilet, but there are other agents that go to the toilet that are not brown, they are red. So why are they going to the toilet? Just because a friend of them is also going to the toilet. And you see occasionally there's a red one going in this direction. So, this is all quite interesting from a psychological point of view, but it's not really convincing from a visual perspective. And I think there is a world to win. We have in social sciences long been quite unaware of the importance of having strong graphics in showing what is actually happening in our models. And I think these good visualizations contribute to the power of explanation and to the educational power of these models. So I think it's an interesting venue to follow, to work on these visualizations. If you look at social simulation models, and I think 40% of you already have, then you know that networks are very important. And in the previous model of a crowd, we had a network. There were a bunch of people going to a festival, there were a number of friends, but it was all small scale, in a confined area, in a limited period of time. But if you look at many of the challenges of modern society, we are dealing with problems that are very often on a global level and that develop in a matter of weeks, months, years and decades. So there's a real challenge of getting a grip on that. Can we visualize that? Can we have more insight in these kinds of effects? Can we understand the networks as they develop on the world, the interactions that take place on our globe, looking at this magnificent planet that we have? here is this beautiful planet. And one thing that touched me very much was when the first human entered space. And Yuri, you must know who he was.
Neil Armstrong.
No,
Oh, Yuri Gagarin.
Yuri Gagarin, yes, of course. Oh. And there he is. So Yuri, do you know who Yuri is? Yeah, Neil Armstrong, cool. So this was the first guy actually entering space. And can you imagine? Many people in the control station were waiting until they first had contact with him. And then they asked him, Yuri, are you there? I mean, the other one. Yes, I'm here. So, Yuri, tell us, what is so special about space? He said, the Earth. He was the first person that actually had the perspective on our whole planet. And it changed his perspective on our globe. Another remarkable person from Groningen is, of course, the recently deceased Wubbo Ockels. And in honor of Wubbo Ockels, I decided to wear this t-shirt tonight. Astronaut of Spaceship Earth. Because that's where we're living. Spaceship Earth. And what I think is so very special, that what Yuri Gagarin could not see and what Wubbo Ockels could not see was what was actually happening on the planet. They were just having this view from a distance of our planet. But was it possible for them to see what is currently happening on a global scale with the Ebola outbreak? No, that's something on a far distance. But what would it be beautiful if you could have a perspective from outer space and have a deep understanding and knowledge about all the processes that are happening on that globe. So let's first put on the glasses and let's have a look at the first model that is demonstrating the bird flu epidemic. And perhaps we can put down the lights a little bit so we have a clear vision.
Hello, this is me. This is Jeffrey from the back. Before we do that, I first have to tell you how to switch on your glasses.
Jeffrey? Jeffrey, can you...
Little technical problem. It's now solved. So, here you see the sun. If you only see one sun, you're done. Otherwise, you have to switch on your glasses. There is a button on the right-hand side of your glasses. With the white ones on the bottom and with the black ones on the inside. If you press that button and wait for 5 till 10 seconds, it should immediately switch on. But please try to see only one sun. Unfortunately, I do not have spare glasses, so it's now or never.
Well, perhaps you could share occasionally with a neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's a simple solution.
Yeah. So, let's now show you the first model.
So the first model is a description of how the bird flu spread over the world. And I think this is a very nice example because nowadays we see it happening with Ebola. We had today, I believe, again, a new casualty. I believe in Spain it was. So Ebola is in Europe right now. And this model might give an impression of how such a disease may spread on our globe. At least if we can find the Earth. Yes, there's yes. And here you can see all the contacts that are happening. And you can see in the red if areas are being infested with a disease. Basically, it shows the proportion of people that are victimized by the illness. You can see it spreading over here. And you're all seeing it now very clear probably. I'm looking at a double, so for me I'm handicapped right now. Home, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have a first idea of how such a disease can spread, it might also be interesting to slowly move to the second model. Because if you go back in the past and you follow the track of the plague, then you perhaps remember from history lessons that the plague traveled very, very slowly from the east to the west. It took often many, many years before a few thousands of kilometers were being conquered by the plague. And usually in that time, it were the traffic ships with rats that were moving the disease. Nowadays, of course, Earth has become smaller because we have air traffic. And do we have the air model already running? And here we see all the planes traveling over the globe. These are actually tracking data from real planes flying all over the globe. So this gives an idea of the network of connections that we have been shaping on our planet. It's pretty dense, right? And what is also very nice to notice that you see, in terms of networks, some places that are really hubs with a lot of connections, where a lot of air traffic is going. And you also see some smaller airports where not so many planes are. And actually, the sizes of these airfields is a very specific distribution. That's a power law distribution for the freaks. Jeffrey, what are you doing? Well, the planes are obviously causing a lot of emissions, but the whole industrial complex nowadays pollutes our atmosphere quite a bit. And also, if you want to have a look at the emissions on our planet, you can visualize that very nice using this globe. So Jeffrey, if you go to the carbon monoxide model, we can have a look at how industry is impacting our atmosphere. the more red an area is, the higher the concentration of carbon monoxide. And I basically lost the Earth, but it should be beneath there somewhere. Last time when we were looking at it, we could clearly see some areas on the planet which were being associated with a lot of industry. And you also could see a relation with the emissions over there. Anyway, I think you get the idea of how this might work. Another interesting one is, how do we survive on this planet? We need food. And for that we have a model running here, which is on crop and feed. Feed is basically what you grow for animals, for cows and pigs, and crops are for human consumption. The more green the area is, the more it's being used for crops, and the more red it is, it's more being used to feed animals. So you can see the production in different areas of our planet. Obviously at the Pacific there's not a lot going on agriculture. But we're entering South America. You see the Amazon area, which is basically black. There's nothing, not a lot being produced over there. But you can see over here the areas which are being burned and which are being used to produce food for the cows to make McDonald's hamburgers. What I like is that we have this very beautiful overview of our complete planet. It gives a very complete picture of what is happening on our globe. And for me, this is really a kind of touching something, that you really have a view of our spaceship Earth and what is happening over there. Another one, which is a bit worrying, especially for us, is the sea level model. So Jeffrey, if you could show the sea level model. This model shows what happens with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 meter increase of sea levels. And the red areas are being the inflicted areas that's being drowned. And hey. So this is +4 meter. So especially for the international students here, realize where you are. What's interesting is that such a model also gives a very nice view of what different areas of the world are being impacted, how many people live there, and where should they go if there's a flood. So it gives, again, this very nice picture of the complete globe. A next model is also related to the sea, is the Fukushima model. And of course we heard a lot about the Fukushima nuclear disaster in the beginning. Nowadays it's a little bit silent, but the Fukushima model shows very nicely how the radioactive particles spread throughout the sea just after this disaster. And I think it's a good idea to have Japan in the picture. Yes. I mean, this is one of the powers of a good visualization. because we always read in the newspaper Fukushima. But actually, if you look at a model like this, you see it's more a global event, right? So this is again an example of how powerful visualization can be to communicate what is actually going on this planet. And what is going on this planet is of course very often being shared on Facebook. We spend a lot of our days sharing our magnificent experiences and funny things on the internet using Facebook. And here's also a very nice model running, which shows the use and connections of Facebook on a global level. So here you can see all the friendships on Facebook on our planet. And actually there's no map of the world behind it, you just see the connections, but you recognize where you are. And in a minute, I think we will also visit a very interesting area. Here we're going to North America. We're going to the east right now. To the west, I mean. And then, I think here we are around China, right? No? India. Okay, yeah. Because China is blocked from Facebook, and it's black. So this again shows, gives a very nice example of, in this way, a human complex network, how we are connected on this planet. And the last one I would like to show demonstrates in a way the history of the world. And if you look at Wikipedia entries and on what location they refer to, and you link that to the year, you can follow in what year what area was under discussion. So in the beginning you will see a lot of articles on Europe, and then suddenly you will see the United States coming up as an area that builds up written history. So basically this is 200 years of history in Wikipedia, how often a particular area is being discussed in an article related to a specific time in history. So in a way it's 200 years of history captured in a visual impression. So what Yuri Gagarin could not see, what Wubbo Ockels had in his mind thinking about challenges for our planet, now becomes reality. And personally I think this is only the beginning of having a kind of digital globe. The more information will become available in these kinds of visualization tools, the more easy it will get for us to explore our planet, looking at it from a whole perspective and going into detail, visiting specific cities, looking, for example, at the quality of life in certain areas, on happiness in certain areas, looking at environmental conditions in particular places, seeing where stuff is happening, if there are people fleeing from certain areas, if there are conflicts in particular areas, risk-prone areas. All that kind of information could be combined in such a visualized Earth, and I think this might be a very interesting future for simulating our planet. And ladies and gentlemen, for the moment I would like to stop here and continue with a regular presentation. And I think it's, I would like, of course, to make a concluding remark here on the slide. And that is my perspective that understanding, and especially understanding of complex matters, is supported by a rich experience. And I think visuals is one way of creating a rich experience. And in exploring how we can visualize and imagine the future, this is typically what University College of Groningen is doing right now, to explore how can we think about communicating, visualizing how complex problems may affect our world in the future and what can we do about it. So, thank you very much for your attention, and I think it's now question hour, something like that. Okay.
Yes. So thank you, Juan de Jager.